And so what we learn how to do is we learn how to perform. That's what we do. And that's what I did with football. I performed. So when Green Bay sent me home, I didn't know who I was. Because as men, we identify ourselves by what we do. When we no longer can do it, we're lost. And until you find who you are beyond what you do, you'll always chase what you are doing. So you perform. You get in a relationship, you perform. How many times I'm gonna give her a good life. I'm gonna show her that I can create this life for her. Performance. Right now, 70% of black men are taking their lives. It is the highest that it's ever been, brothers. And all of these brothers are not just regular brothers. These are successful men that are not just attempting, but they're succeeding in suicide. Suicide is high amongst men in the church because oftentimes we come to church, we don't feel seen. We feel like it's a place where we can show up, but can I really be open and to say, I make good money, but I'm still broken inside. I got the house, I got the family, but I'm still wrestling with what I didn't get. And until you deal with that thing, you'll keep performing. And let me tell you something, fella, performing is exhausting. Some of you, I'm looking at you right now, you're tired emotionally. Can you really be honest with your wife? Can you really be honest with your family and tell, I'm tired of carrying this burden and feeling like I gotta carry the family? Some of you are sleeping, but you're not resting because you feel like you can't afford to quit, because if you quit, who's gonna depend on who? Pressure, stress, anxiety, feeling like that we gotta be stoic, feeling like that we gotta carry the load, man, is exhausting. And it wasn't until I went through my healing process that I realized that I had to deal with my own daddy issues. Because when you're dealing with suicide, and from a clinical perspective, suicide ideation, right, one of the things is that most people are trying to get rid of pain. They're not trying to take their life. And you're trying to end the pain, and many times, and I'm gonna tell you, when my parents divorced, I started cutting on myself. Self-harm. Self-harm to ease the pain that I was experiencing on the inside. Because if I cut myself, I can numb whatever I'm dealing with internally. And some of us have found so many different ways to numb out what we don't really want to deal with. How many of you, honestly, know there's some things that you need to address? And let me tell you something. Admitting that you got to deal with your issues don't mean that you're not saved. Doesn't mean that you're not a man of God. It doesn't mean that you're not a man. If anything, true masculinity is in your ability to say, something is not right. I'm hurting right now. I can't carry the family. So many men I counsel. Let me tell you something. A lot of men are married, but who they're married to is not who they live with. Who they married to is not who they live with, because I go home to a place where I don't feel emotionally safe. Because let me tell you something, brothers. We fear opening up because we don't want to be penalized for what we share. Can I be real with you? As a teen, say, I'm gonna keep it all the way 100 with you. We fear sharing because let me tell you something. It's not our money. It's our emotions that is our most prized possession. Because when we give that, we're giving of ourselves, hoping that I won't be emotionally blackmailed. Some of you love your spouses, but you don't trust them. You love your family, but you don't trust them, because if I tell you my insecurities and what I'm really afraid of, I'm wondering, how will you judge me? Will you still see me as being this Superman? And here is the issue. So many men are battling because their capes have holes in it, and they're no longer able to be the Superman. And the reality is that we're all Clark Kents. And guess what? There's no booth to go inside. The booth was a safe place for Superman. We can't go in and change. So my message and my purpose is dealing with the wounds, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, just like David. Because the reality of shepherds was that they were outcasts. And some of you have made it to the place that you desire, but you still have not heard, I'm proud, son. And it's hard for you to look at other men and really love on them, because socially, you had an issue with men because of what you did not develop with your father. So when other men embrace you, it feels foreign to you. It feels weird when another man look at you and say, I love you, king, and it doesn't question your sexuality or question your masculinity. That's not an issue based on that. That's an issue that's based on the little boy was never loved. Because when your little boy is not loved well, the man always shows up to perform. What can I do? Who can I knock down? For those that don't understand that, y'all understand that. And what we've done is we've acquired all of these different distractions. Pornography was so high during the pandemic because for the married folks, you had to look at who you chose, because you didn't have that barrier. You didn't have work. You didn't have that separation of work. You didn't have that buffer where you can go to the gym. Now you woke up, she looking at you and you looking at her, and you question yourself, is this what I chose? See, it's a difference when you only see her for a few hours a day, opposed to you got to look at her all day now. I got to hear these children all day. And so many men, I was on the Breakfast Club, Charlamagne and I was talking about father wounds. When I got off the Breakfast Club that it aired, I had 200 plus requests from men in my DMs trying to get in my office for therapy, because most of them felt, King, I can't be honest with my wife. I can't tell my family that I'm depressed. I've seen folks come to church, shout, fall at the altar, and go home and take their lives. Not because God is not real, because you're concealing something that God didn't mean for you to conceal. Brothers, you gotta release it. I see successful men all the time, and I can always identify the insecurity because they show the success, but there's a little boy that's still wanting to be seen. But when it came down to who you really were, you struggled to emotionally connect with her or with your family because you hadn't connected with you. And I'm tired of seeing brothers die by suicide. I'm tired of brothers in the church that feel like they can't be open and be vulnerable to say, you know what, I love God, but man, I'm on the edge. I know what it's like. My godmother found me under the bed because I OD'd, took a drug overdose. Because when football was over, I just wanted to be seen. I wanted somebody to tell me you was good enough. And when we don't hear the praise, guess what? We lose our zeal for life. And we feel like how, who, when. So many brothers are living, I call it the Al Bundy syndrome. They're stuck in what they did and who they were. Their greatest accomplishments was what they did in high school, Pastor. And I'm saying, what are you doing now? And when we're not loved well, man, we break things. And when you break things, it's because you have unresolved issues, unresolved pain. Unresolved pain birth frustration. Frustration would then turn into rage. You hearing men just snap. And it's not because we're not strong, but we haven't been weak. It's time for us to get weak, brothers. It's time for us to really get weak with ourselves and allow God to see us so you can see yourself. See, David's whole issue was that he wasn't seen. Jesse didn't see him. And when you're not seen and you get power, guess what you would do? You will manipulate. When he got that power, you see what he did. Put a man on the front line for his wife. When you're not seen, you show up to the world with your question. Do you see me? Am I good enough? I'm making money. Women like me, but I don't like who I see. Matter of fact, I don't even like who I am on the inside. Because there was a little boy that was touched and that was molested, and now it's manifested in promiscuity, so everything I see, I gotta smash. I'm just keeping it all the way real. Brothers that are married because I felt I got married out of obligation, so now I'm cheating with my infatuation. God, Jesus. It's time to deal with it, man. And suicide used to be, when I grew up in the South, it was, oh, that's white folks stuff. No, it's a human issue. You're humans, brothers. Do you know, brother, men 50 and up don't develop friendships.